But they're saying that women in this article play a primary role in government as well. And
yeah, but see what you did there? You did a smuggle. They play a primary role in government. That doesn't make it a matriarchy.
But it's a system. Do you know what a matriarchy is, though?
Yeah, it would be women broadly in charge of all of the systems.
It's a system of social structure where they hold a lot of power.
They hold the majority power.
And that's what
and the decisions of the men are at their behest in any...
But that's what the article just said of the Bribri tribe.
No,
I don't know. Again, I just found a different article.
Any matriarchy...
I don't know if I should speak to what's going on.
Any matriarchy that I've ever investigated, which is supposedly a matriarchy, we find very quickly that men are in the prominent positions of authority on force, which means that any matriarchy is living at the behest of the men. That's it.
So is your point that men are better then because they have brute force? Or what's your point that men should be in charge governmentally?
No, my point is I'm not giving an ought. We have to agree first to a descriptor. The descriptive truth is that it is, in fact, the case that women have to appeal to men for all of their rights, period, by your own admission. That's why you're trying to get them on your side. Because if you don't have them, they can basically cage women up if they wanted to, and there's nothing women could do about it.
Right, but that doesn't mean that men are therefore better or should be in charge. I'm confused. What's the actual point, the conclusion that you're making here?
The point here is that men being in charge is obviously and clearly they're very benevolent, because at any time they so choose, they can lock all women up. There's nothing they can do about it. And the reverse is not true, which is so interesting. You're literally at the mercy, women are at the mercy globally and always have been, of men. And yet we're monsterized and demonized by feminists. That's what we're literally considered demons by feminists. You did it by your own admission today with your own stats, trying to make us out to be sexually assaulting monsters. Didn't even know the counter stats.
Didn't say that. Never
said
that.
That's what it appears to be, though, from the onlooker's perspective.
I feel like you have these generic talking points that you try to apply to feminists, but I haven't really been very reactive or calling you names. I'm trying not to. I have, but
you have acted exactly like a feminist today, madame.
Okay, but I feel like
nobody's going to be confused about that at all.
All right.
The whole snobbery.
I'm not insulted by that.
The whole snobbery towards authority. You're going to do what I want. The finger clap thing. You did the whole feminist trope, the entire thing.
Okay.
But what I would like is a refutation here.
Can I speak now?
Can you agree?
I feel like it's my time.
Can you agree that it is the case that women have to appeal to men for their rights and not the other way around?
I will not ever agree to the fact that we should appeal to men for our rights. I think that is an inherently misogynistic question. Have to?
Have to.
No.
Okay, well then where do rights come from?
They should be inherent to every person, but again, I think I should be able to lead this. So give me a second, because again, you've just been a little bit insulting the last few minutes, so I feel like when that happens, it's just a good change of pace is important. But
I do need to keep it on the topic at hand. But
which again, where were we? Can you repeat the question?
Right. So I asked you where rights come from.
Where rights come from, if you can address that.
Okay, but then I get to speak.
Respond.
More.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, but it's on force doctrine and rights.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I think the fact that we're debating a topic that you came up with is a little bit strange personally, but I was going to say that I think that rights are inherent. I think that they should be related to all people, just like the fact that we are human beings. We shouldn't have to appeal to any person for authority. And again, the fact that men are stronger, bigger, more powerful doesn't mean that they give or take away people's rights. I'm not religious necessarily, but I think if I was, I would probably tell you that I think God is the person that, relates and who gives people their human dignity and rights, but I think it's inherent. I think that we should all have the right to live and be free of violence, and I think that those who offend and try to put people in cages, those are the people that should be jailed. I don't think that that's a blanket statement.
Yeah. So I would just, you keep on saying rights should be inherent. That doesn't tell me anything about where rights come from. Where do rights come from? Where do we ascribe rights?
Well, I think that you're thinking very United States government centric.
Anywhere. You can pick anywhere on planet. I don't care where you pick.
Okay.
Where are rights coming from?
They are coming from the set of people that are in charge, the government. And to your point, that's the patriarchy. However, I agree. Okay. So I concede to that point. However, I'm saying that does not mean that men, since they create the ability to give people rights and take it away, that doesn't mean that men it should be that way. It shouldn't. I don't know if that makes sense.
So men have been guaranteeing your rights the entire time you've been alive?
No, that's definitely not true.
Well, I don't understand. I thought that you just said rights come from the government. The government is the patriarchy. The patriarchy then is giving you rights, right?
Right, but the government isn't inherently the government is influenced by patriarchy, but it's not all men making decisions in the past it was.
Would you say it's mostly in charge by men?
Yeah, but again, like I think that your points that you're making are very misogynistic. Like I think the point of what you're saying
listen,
is like we should be grateful to.
I think the points you're making are very misandrist. I mean, that doesn't tell us.
But
anything.
I don't hate men, so that's not a very good
I don't hate
insult.
women.
Okay, but your question inherently is rooted in the fact that you think that there is male superiority and that men are in charge.
Descriptively, men are stronger than women, yeah? Descriptively.
Yes.
You're not going to argue that point, right?
On average, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, on average. Well, I mean, it's a strong average, though.
Sure.
Yeah, like, I mean, teenage soccer teams are beating, female pro player teams, right?
Sure.
You agree that that's the case? Okay, great. So if that's the case, and we can agree, and you agree that the governments of the world are patriarchal, then you have to concede that the patriarchy is giving you your rights right now.
I will never concede that. And the reason why is because I think that is rooted in the idea that women should be grateful. Like you're telling me that I should essentially be grateful to you for the fact that I'm not in a cage right now and that someone's not assaulting me as we speak. Like that does not mean that I should be grateful to you.
How about just your right to free speech and the fact that it's enforced by men? The patriarchy is the ones giving you that by your own admission.
Listen, so my theory is the way it should be. This is what I think. This is the way that it was before we had colonization and all the imperialism and stuff. There's a blanket statement, right? Or there's a blanket right to life, to autonomy, to all these things, right, that are just given to you by the nature of being human. And there are certain entities and people and oppressive regimes that then come in and they try to take those things away from you.
Yeah, now, warring tribe theory.
Well, because they give you those things, or because the government gives you the right to exist now, right, doesn't mean it's a benevolent doesn't mean the patriarchy is benevolent because it is currently giving me these rights and I'm not like sitting and trapped in my house like I am in a different country.
What would make it malevolent?
What would make it malevolent?
Yeah.
I think in places like
I'm
like
talking
Afghanistan,
about here in the United States, which is a patriarchy by your own admission, giving you rights. What would make it malevolent?
I think that there are a lot of current things that are malevolent, like in legislation and things like that are, like attacks on bodily autonomy and like the overturning, like the Dobbs decision or the
But you would
overturning
consider
Roe v.
your
Wade.
First Amendment a benevolent right, your Third Amendment, your Fifth Amendment.
I think these things are all inherent. Like I don't understand. Like just because it's written in by the government doesn't mean that it should inherently be.
It can't be
benevolent.
Listen, that's a contradiction.